This whole area is called the Temple Mount.
This is the Temple Mount.
The temple was a building 7 stories high, stood on top of this Temple Mount, on top of that flat area where those trees are.
In 20 BC, King Herod the Great built a temple where Jews could worship their God. It was designed to last forever.
Herod says, we're going to create the most spectacular physical structure in the entire Middle East, maybe in the entire world. You can see these gigantic stones at the bottom. Those are called Herodian stones. The Jewish temple to the one God stood on top of that mount before there was Islam or Christianity.
But in the year 70 AD, the Romans sacked Jerusalem and demolished the temple. In the centuries since, Jews have come to pray at its remains, the Western or Wailing Wall. It was almost 1900 years before the site returned to direct Jewish control in 1967. We are about 70 years into the new Israel. Why hasn't the temple been rebuilt?
2 reasons. One is because the Jews aren't ready, and the other is because the Muslims aren't ready. The state of Israel militarily, politically controls this whole area. But the state of Israel gave the Temple Mount area on the top to the Muslims.
While the top of the mount is off limits to Jewish religious rites, there are sacred spaces underground, which Yoram says will help me understand the Jewish vision for end times.
This is it. We've come to the closest that a human being can come to the Holy of Holies, the most sacred spot in the world. That's the room in the temple that one human being would enter once a year, the high priest, on Yom Kippur, on the holiest day of the year, and he would say God's name.
Orthodox Jews believe that without this temple, their religious rites are incomplete. So they await the day when their temple is rebuilt. Is there a Messiah?
In Judaism?
In Judaism?
Jews invented the Messiah. But it's not the same Messiah that most people think about.
Okay.
Right? Because when Christians think of the Messiah, they think of someone who's divine.
Yeah.
They think of, the end of days. What we have for the Messiah is a man, a king of this earth, who's going to bring peace among the nations in this world.
And he will not be divine.
He will not be divine.
And Yoram tells me this mortal Messiah has a very specific to-do list.
According to Jewish tradition, he has 3 things he's supposed to do. Number 1, he's going to reconstitute the Jewish kingdom or the Jewish state. Number 2, he's going to bring peace with the neighbors. And number 3, he's going to rebuild that temple.
Rebuild the temple. Here we are. This is 2015. What are you going to do now? What is contemporary Jewish position on the temple?
The Jews think of the world in terms of this dream that once existed in the world that was taken away. The Jews want to bring back into the world.
That is the reconstruction of the temple.
The reconstruction of the temple as the crowning symbol of this era of justice and peace that we're supposed to be assisting to bring back into the world.
Judaism is just one of many religions that envisions the coming of world peace one day. But looking at this place, where so many religions intersect, it's hard to imagine peace coming.
Make sure you understand this, folks. Israel is excavating under the Temple Mount.
Right.
The Temple Mount is the Holy Land of the Muslims.
Right.
But the Israelis are digging tunnels under the Temple Mount.
Right. And so you saw that part of it there, and that was interesting enough. I can see an archaeological dig. I can see, you look at the rocks here, look at the foundation, and that would have great historical significance. What we saw next, Rick, and this will be the first time I know a lot of our viewers will ever be exposed to this. And so I want you to watch carefully in this next clip. We're going to run it with sound here because I want you to see what's going on here. I want you to look at the surroundings. We're still underground. We're going into another chamber of this dig. But this particular chamber happens to be directly under the Dome of the Rock. Okay?
And what is this chamber?
This chamber is actually a synagogue that's been built underground. A synagogue
directly under the Dome of the Rock.
Yes, under the Temple Mount itself.
So the Muslims above are aware that underground there is a Jewish synagogue under the Dome of the Rock.
Well, whether they're aware about it or not,
they are aware of it. This came out in the news a year or two ago.
But most Christians aren't aware of it.
That's right.
Okay, so let's watch this clip, and I want you to just look at, see anything peculiar around the surroundings here, around the ornaments or anything. See if anything really jumps out at you.
Should I be looking for a Nephilim?
Well, maybe.
Maybe look for something round.
Okay.
Yeah, look for it here.
All right.
Okay, so you gentlemen had the opportunity to take a look at that clip. Edward, you notice anything weird or unusual there in that clip?
There is an enormous golden globe with Hebrew writing on it and a flame coming out of it. What in the world did we just look at?
A big globe of planet Earth with a flame coming out of it.
Right. Now, written on that giant globe there, so they're running again for us here, is a prayer that's listed. I don't have the prayer printed out, but it's a prayer. But it does seem quite unusual that once again you have that global imagery popping up once again. Just like we saw with Genie Energy, just like we saw with the globe in Saudi Arabia. So this imagery is popping up over and over again. Now, a lot of Christians don't even know that this synagogue even exists, first of all. But now having seen this and seen that globe, what should the response be, Rick?
Well, my immediate thought is it's a symbol of global Zionism, overtaking the world, ruling the world from Jerusalem. Jerusalem, which the Bible says is Babylon. And I believe what they're showing us is, they have full intentions of rebuilding the temple. Now, the question, and we'll have to wait and see, will God allow them to rebuild a temple?
Right.
It's not God building a temple.
Right.
But will God allow the Jews to rebuild the temple? God tore down their second temple.
Right.
And I'm not convinced he's going to allow them to build a third one, but he may, because it will be the seat of power of the beast system. So Jerusalem will rule the world. This is what we're showing you, that Israel is taking the lead in artificial intelligence. For the first time, I've been at this job for 20 years. I have studied the New World Order, globalism, Freemasonry, the Vatican. I've studied all these things, Nazism, and I've tried to make sense of all this, and I finally came to a conclusion. As far as I'm concerned, I could retire. I finally figured out what is going on and where this is going. It is global Zionism. It is the synagogue of Satan, seizing control of the world and Jerusalem becoming the capital of the world.
If the Antichrist is to successfully impersonate the true Messiah, it follows that he also must attempt to rule the world from Jerusalem with what would appear to be eternal rule. Only then can he declare, I am the Messiah. If he is to do that and convince the Jews that he is indeed the Messiah, then it follows logically Number one, he would have to liberate the Holy Land for the Jews. Number two, he would have to bring them back to the Holy Land to reclaim it as their own. Number three, he would have to restore a state of Israel in the Holy Land and get them to believe that this is the holy Israel of David and of Solomon, alayhi salam. Of course it would not be. It would be an impostor. Then they would be convinced. And finally, he would have to cause that state of Israel to become the ruling state in the world. Only then would he be able to rule the world from Jerusalem. Then he can get up and say, I am the Messiah. And they would believe that he is indeed the Messiah. And then he could rub his hands and he can say, mission accomplished.